Hey geeks, before I get into this review, I'm going to stop right here for a second and plug our sponsor, Darnim Toys and Collectibles. He's got all kinds of action figures and other collectible paraphernalia, just like what you see being reviewed here on this channel all the time, and so much more. Some of what's behind me right here came from Darnim himself. And if you go on to darnim.ca right now and at the checkout, put in the coupon code GeeksCollide with a capital G, you'll get yourself 10% off of whatever you order. So, what are you waiting for? Actually, wait for the video and then go do that. Let's get into it, y'all. What's up, geeks? My name is Joey. Finally, back here on When Geeks Collide for one of my favorite DC Multiverse McFarlane Build-A-Figure reviews. And I've been out of the game way too long, but I guess it's what happens when you work 12 hours a day and you're wrestling all the time and dadding all the time. Doesn't leave a whole lot of extra time for doing these, but I am so glad to finally be back at it. And this, I think, is an awesome way to start with these reviews because I was super stoked for these particular Batman the Animated Series figures to come out with their Condiment King Build-A-Figure. I know it's a controversial character, and in my opinion, one of the most slept-on characters from BTAS. He's honestly one of my favorite villains, just for the pure nonsense of what Condiment King is. I will be, of course, reviewing the Mr. Freeze, Robin, Batman, and I do have the regular Scarecrow that comes with the line typically. However, courtesy of our good friend Jeff, K-Dav Jeff, hooked me up with the Platinum Edition Scarecrow with the paint job that I honestly prefer. So much cooler, so much creepier. Really is my favorite iteration of Scarecrow. Anywho, I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's get into these figures. And of course, who better to start with than Batman himself? So let's get into this Batman. And there he is. The animated series Batman himself, portrayed by the voice of the late, great, legendary Kevin Conroy, who honestly is my favorite Batman. You ask anybody their favorite Batman, and you're gonna think of like the live-action Batman. A lot of people don't think that Kevin Conroy counts because it was just his voice, but you know what? He counts to me. He was my first Batman growing up, and whenever I read a Batman comic, that voice is the voice that I hear in this dialogue. But anywho, I digress. Can I just say that I had no idea until I opened this figure that the cape was this material, and it is so awesome. The cowl is really loose. I'm assuming there's a reason for that. He has the standard C-grip hands, and comes with several pairs of hands, like these trigger finger hands that go with his grappling hook gun, and also comes with a hand already holding the grappling hook gun. So a little redundant, but you know, who am I to judge? Oh, never mind. It comes with the Batarang. I'm sure, yep, it's for the Batarang. Of course. And, you know, some fists, you know, for knocking out them rogues. And speaking of hands, comes with Condiment King's arms. These awesome little packets lining his arms. I'm going to do a full-on review when I actually get them assembled. But anyway, for now. I'm also noticing, I didn't know this ahead of time, but these figures, this series of figures particularly, is not the standard McFarlane 7-inch build. It's actually 6-inch. And just for a visual, here's one of my standard Batman figures. Yeah, he's on a stand, but I looked at it closely before recording, and this is the difference, which Not a deal breaker for me, not a big deal whatsoever. This is just really cool to have. Before I get too ahead of myself, I did notice that this line of figures doesn't come with the stands that usually McFarlane figures do come with, but luckily I have a ton of those. I ain't worried. What it does come with, however, that all the multiverse figures do come with is this little trading card gimmick. So, when we give it a read, as I usually do, Batman, data file, real name, Bruce Wayne. Huh, who knew? Well, let me get a focus on there for you. As a child, Bruce Wayne watched as his parents were brutally killed in Gotham City's crime alley. Traumatized by their deaths, he devoted his life to becoming the world's greatest weapon against crime, Batman. To become the ultimate vigilante, the Dark Knight disciplined his mind and body to reach the pinnacle of mental and physical superiority in his relentless pursuit of justice. Can I just say, look at all these trademarks on here. Bruce Wayne is trademarks. I guess you can't name your kid Bruce Wayne. Batman, obviously trademarked. The Dark Knight, which yeah, I guess probably should have known that. But again, I digress. Now, like Steve, I have also misplaced my little spitty gimmick for these reviews, as I haven't been able to really organize my stuff since my daughter was born. So I'm just going to give you a nice little look at it here and give you my rating of this figure. I'm going to go ahead and rate this figure a 9.5 out of 10. You can't really ask for much. You can't really ask for much more. I mean, like, it's literally looks like it's ripped right out of the screen. It's like the shading that is synonymous with its art style that was in the show is all over it, which is awesome. Like, contours the entire figure so well. I mean, the only downside of that I'd say is that you got to position it in a certain way to actually make it look in place. Otherwise, all the shadows and lighting just kind of line up a little weird. But that's not gonna knock off any points for me. Really excited to have this, and yeah, 9.5 out of 10. And moving right along, I feel like it's only natural that we next look at and review the boy wonder himself, Robin. All right, so there's Robin, and few initial thoughts. Unlike Batman, the cape on here, Robin's cape is the plastic rubber material, which nothing wrong with that, just an observation. The hip joints are, kind of retro. A classic, 2-pin rotation style. Very thin joints. I'd say this is probably about a 4-inch scale. This 4-inch Richard. But you know what? Size isn't everything. It's what you do with it. And what you can do with it is attach also, once I get it to stand up in place, also several different types of hands. Has this like open hand, like Batman, this hand holding a grappling gun, and an itty bitty little fist. Also, comes with this sweet little bolo that actually fits perfectly in the C grip hands that he has right now. Don't know why I just made the whip sound effect. Yeah. Anywho, let's go ahead and check out his data file. Okay, so firstly, I just discovered that these standard stands, the pin is a little too thick for the itty bitty holes on these guys' heels. Oh, and would you look at that? This is my literal first time looking at the bottom of his feet. He don't have no holes in his heels. So that would be problematic either way. Yeah, standing this guy with his itty bitty little feet on his itty bitty little ankles is going to be tricky. Anywho, here's that cool little trading card. And let's get a good look at that for you. Try to get no glare in there. Robin, data file. Richard Grayson. Richard, because man, children like me still get a chuckle out of the short form, I suppose. A popular acrobat and a young star of the Halley Circus's The Flying Graysons, Dick Grayson's life was turned upside down when his parents were murdered during a trapeze performance while visiting Gotham City. Dick was soon taken in by the wealthy Bruce Wayne, becoming his ward. After Grayson learned that Batman and Bruce Wayne were one and the same, he began to train with the hero, and then adopted the identity of the crime fighter Robin. And there you go. So, let's go ahead and rate the most famous sidekick of all time, the first sidekick to ever kick sides, Robin. And also, fun fact, the first sidekick to ever get his own solo series. Look it up. Anywho, I do really like this figure. Again, with the contour shading, painted into the figure itself. You know, does make it a little complicated for positioning, especially with this one. It seems like the ankle is a little bit out of whack on this side. It's not too bad for me, but it does make it a little more difficult. Robin, honestly, growing up, watching Batman the Animated Series, was my favorite character because I felt like I related to him more. Not for dead parents. My parents are still very alive, nor were they ever athletic enough to be trapeze artists. Um, just because he was a kid, and I feel like I was a bit of a nonconformist from an early age by rooting for the not main character. Anywho, despite all that, I'm gonna have to give this one a lower rating. This the sculpt of it, not because the sculpt of it is visually unappealing. It's great. It interprets the cartoon style very well, but just for practicality's sake, I'm gonna have to only give this one maybe like a 6 out of 10. I'll give it a 6.5, 6.5 to be generous, just for the nostalgia factor. But again, could be better. Just a couple little nitpicks here and there. But that's not gonna stop me from moving right along. All right, let's move right along into the rogues, starting with Mr. Freeze, arguably the most popular villain from the Batman the Animated Series. Besides Joker, of course, but was also the subject of arguably the best animated Batman movie of all time. I'm, of course, talking about Batman Sub-Zero. So I'm not going to waste any more time on preamble at this one. I got to get my hands on this Mr. Freeze. Wow. Just take a look at this cool figure. Sorry. There are going to be puns with this guy. Wow. It's ripped right out of the movie. This is incredible. So the joints in the elbows, they do move, sort of. Just these rubberized elbow coverings, they do make it a little harder. And the little fishbowl comes off a little too easily, if you ask me. But that's not a deal breaker for me. I love this character. Oh, and his oxygen tank comes right off, goes right back on. Boom. Big old feet. There we go. Oh, he comes with all of Condiment King's cool stuff. Like his jetpack. Sorry, his ketchup and mustard tanks with his ketchup and mustard blasters. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Robin came with his legs. How cold I forget that his freeze gun was right there, dude. This figure gives me the chills. I'm not even joking. It's so cool. My nostalgia meter is off the charts right now. He also seems to have that like 2-pin hip system, which is interesting. Interesting to see. He also comes with a lot of different hand grips. Sorry, I'm just going to stand there. A lot of different hand grips. I'd honestly even say more than Robin. Has like, the grips for his gun. His, some smaller C grip fingers. The open hand. And a fist. Because, Mr. Freeze punches? Not really. But yeah, and now let's get into this tragic character's super cool bio card. Oops. I'm totally keeping that in as a blooper. All right, Mr. Freeze. Data file. Real name, Dr. Victor Freeze. You know what? He's a doctor. Why don't they call him Dr. Freeze? Whatever. I don't work for DC. Anywho, data file. Mr. Freeze. Real name, Dr. Victor Freeze. At first glance, Mr. Freeze seems like a sympathetic criminal. After all, he has devoted his life to looking for a cure for his beloved Nora, so that she may be thawed from her cryogenic state and reunited with him. In fact, Victor Freeze is a dangerous sociopath whose single-mindedness has transformed him into a supervillain. Well, never mind about that sympathetic stuff, I guess. Yeah, I'm going to go right ahead into rating this figure, and I am not going to hesitate in giving this figure a 10 out of 10. Some people might disagree. I would strongly disagree with them. Respectfully, of course. But let me know in the comments what you would rate these figures yourself. Because I'm really curious to know what you guys think and how your nostalgia meter works. But yeah, seriously, easy 10 out of 10 for me, this figure. Absolutely love it. And now finally, let's move on to this Platinum Edition Scarecrow. And then we can finally complete our Condiment King. And there is Dr. Crane himself, Scarecrow. Now, right off the bat, let me tell you that I am both relieved and kind of disappointed that he only comes with like 2 replaceable hands. Totally fine because I don't know where the hell I'm going to keep all these replaceable hands. However, just maybe a C grip would make it a lot easier to pose him with this scythe. It's a little tricky because he only has 1 C grip, and that is his right hand. So, you know what? Whatever. Also comes with replaceable head. So you can see the... There you go, a maniacal mean mug of Dr. Crane. Oh, and speaking of mean mugs, comes with Condiment King's mean mug. Super serious face on this guy. Boom. Scary red eyes. Love it. Now, before I move on to the card read for this particular figure, just want to give another quick shout out one more time to Jeff. Thanks so much for grabbing this figure for me. Really appreciate it so much. Super glad to have it. And you know what? Now, without further ado, let's take a read at Scarecrow. Scarecrow data file. Real name, Dr. Jonathan Crane. Dr. Jonathan Crane has spent as much time lurking in the dark corners of the human psyche as he has hiding in the shadowy parts of Gotham City. Obsessed with the idea of fear in its many forms, Crane has adopted the role of the Scarecrow, a living embodiment of things that go bump in the night. A career supervillain, Scarecrow lives to clash with the Batman, intent on making the Dark Knight cower in fear. Wait, how do they trademark Scarecrow? Didn't Wizard of Oz get that first? Ah, well. Not important. Let's move right along, shall we? And so, to rate this Scarecrow, I think it would be more than reasonable to give it a very modest 9 out of 10. Overall, like I said, I'm very, very happy with this figure. I love the contouring of the shading and lighting on this, like with the scythe and everything. Yeah. no other reasons. Just overall fantastic figure. Thank you again, once again, Jeff. And yeah, 9 out of 10. So how's about we move ahead to assembling the one and only Condiment King. Wow. I feel like I finally assembled the 5 pieces of Exodia. Any of my fellow Yu-Gi-Oh nerds out there will totally get it. But for those of you who don't worry. It's all good. I'll forgive you. So I'll tell you what. Let's start with the top. and work our way down. Wow. Just wow. I friggin' love this. Well, no card to read for him, so let's go ahead and rate him, shall we? There's no card for Condiment King's data file, and I feel like somehow, somewhere there should be. Uh, you know what? Overall, I think DC just needs to expand more on the lore of Condiment King. On behalf of all the Condiment King fanatics like me, I demand it. This character is just awesome. This character is literally all of us. Okay, maybe me, unless you're like me, at like 5 years old. Because look at how makeshift this costume is. Dude is literally wearing tighty whities over his outfit. Like when I was little, picture this. Little Joey, little Iron Cowboy Gunnar Lang would run around the house with his underpants over his jeans or track pants, with a tea towel for a cape around my neck, pretending to be Batman and Robin. But anywho, story time over. And I'm gonna go right ahead into rating this figure. I am rating this figure shamelessly 10 out of 10. I do not care. And speaking of rating, I think starting now with this Build-A-Figure series, I'm gonna start giving the whole series overall an overall rating. And that would mean that out of these 5 figures, that would mean with each being rated out of 10, that means that it would be a 50 overall rating. And if my math is correct, then that would mean that going from left to right, with Robin's 6.5 out of 10, Batman's 8.5 out of 10, Condiment King and Mr. Freeze's 10 out of 10 respective ratings, and Scarecrow's 9 out of 10, would put the overall rating of the wave at a 44 out of 50. And if you watch Dancing with the Stars, you totally get how that works. If you don't, it's easy enough to understand anyway. Don't judge. I watch it with my wife, and that's the excuse I'm sticking with. And Chris Jericho was on there one time. It was kind of cool for wrestling buffs that are forced to watch the show with their others. Just saying. And so there we have it. My first figure review / first Build-A-Figure wave review of the year. Considering I didn't really do many last year, I'm really excited to be back at it now, hoping to pump out a lot more. I have a lot of figures that I have stockpiled in 2023 that I have to get through unboxing. And I'm looking forward to sharing it with you guys. Steve has made the lofty goal of pumping out 1 video a day. So I'm going to do my very best to contribute to that and keep pumping out more and more content for you guys. More figure reviews with me, more toy hunts with myself, Andrew Love, the Love Guns that you guys love to see. And you can find me, of course, on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Twitter, X. Facebook is Gunnar Lang, and Instagram and X are IC_Gunnar Lang, as usual. And if you want to check out my comics page, that also hasn't been touched in a long time for the same reasons I stated at the beginning of this video. Horizon Comics with an X on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Man, it's going to take some getting used to. Anyway, you know what we say, guys. Geeks out.